sixth graders, we're coming toward the end of chapter 1, and one of the last lessons in this chapter is we've been learning about numbers and reviewing operations, learning about the order of operations, and today we're going to work on the rules of math. Math is kind of like a game. It's a lot like a sport. And if you, for example, if you know the rules of a sport, you can use those to your advantage when you're playing the game. Okay? So, a lot like in the same way, when you're doing math, if you understand the rules that you can use those rules to help you find an answer. So, one of the first rules that we'll talk about is the commutative property. And this rule works for multiplication and for addition. The commutative property says that if you have two numbers, you can reverse the order of those numbers and get the same answer. So just like thinking 5 plus 8 is 13, and 8 plus 5 is 13. These numbers just switched around in a different order. They equal the same answer. So that means you can add them in different order. Same for multiplication. Think 7 times 5 is 35, and 5 times 7 is 35. So you can reverse the order of the numbers and get the same answer. It's a pretty simple rule, but it can help you when you are solving a longer expression like we did with order of operations. Then there's another one called the associative property, and this one also works for addition and for multiplication. And in this one, you'll always have at least 3 terms, or 3 numbers in the expression. And they'll either be all addition or all multiplication. And what this one is, it's similar to the commutative property, except that if you think of these as being in the first, second, and third terms, you can either add the first 2 terms first and then add the third one, or you can add the second and third one first and then add the first one, and you get the same answer. So, in this example, 3 plus 4 is 7, and you can add the third one as 7. Or I can choose to add 4 plus 7 first, and then add the 3. And I get the same answer. Okay? When you are doing this, or when you're using this rule, oftentimes you will see that the parentheses are around one set of numbers, and then they're moved to another set. So when that's the case, then you can recognize that as the associative property. Okay? Colton.
So associative properties are always with parentheses?
Yeah.
Always parentheses?
Right, they'll always be with parentheses.
Will there ever be parentheses in commutative?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they will. I'll give you an example.
But,
Look at, check out this example first. Let's say that we have, oh, there we go. Delete that. 4 times 2 times 5. Okay? Or no, let's do this. Or 4 times 5 times 2. Which property is that? Are the numbers switched around?
commutative.
Or is the order that you're doing these in switched around? Sam?
Commutative property.
You're right, that's the commutative property, because the 5 and the 2 are switched around. Okay? The 5 and the 2 are switched around, so that's the commutative property. Now, in the associative property, the order of the numbers will be the same order. Just the parentheses will be moved. Yep. So 4 times 2 times 5, and, 4 times 2 times 5, that's the same order, but the parentheses are moved. That's the associative property. Okay? When the parentheses are moved, but the numbers are in the same order, that's the associative property. David?
What is the parentheses?
Parentheses means do first.
It's separate.
Right? So in the order of operations, you do what's in the parentheses first. Colton?
For name the property shown, couldn't you always know that it's not going to be an associative if it doesn't have parentheses?
Yes. Yep. However, it may be one of the other ones. For example, there's more to write down, people. There is, whoops, the identity property. So write down identity properties.
Did you write this?
Write down identity properties. You may have to go on to the next page when you're writing this. Identity properties. There's 2 of them. There's an identity property for addition, which says any number plus 0 is that number. Any number plus 0 is the number, is the original number. And any number times 1 is that number. Yep, plus 0 equals the number. And for multiplication, any number times 1 is the number. That's called the identity property of multiplication, or the identity property of addition. Then there's also a 0 property of multiplication. Any number times 0 is 0. Zero property of multiplication.
Are you able to take extra notes?
Yes.
Are you able to take extra notes?
You can write down whatever you want for extra. Anything that you want to remember that I said that's not on here, you can write that down. Thomas?
Why are there dots instead of the symbol?
Because I want you to recognize that dots mean multiply. Okay? Multiplication, when you see a dot between 2 numbers, it means multiply them. Not just the x, but also a dot between the numbers.
Also a star.
Dots mean times. Yes, stars mean times. Parentheses mean times. We already learned that with the order of operations. So the last one that I'll teach you is called the distributive property. And you can look for this with the distributive property. The distributive property will include multiplication and addition. It has both multiplication and addition in it. Okay? So, what this means is, if you have 4 plus 7, or if you have two numbers that are being added and then multiplied, you can multiply first and then add them, or you can do it the other way. You can reverse the order and add them first and then multiply. Okay? You can multiply first and then add, or you can add first and then multiply. So it involves multiplication and addition when you're looking for the distributive property. Okay? The distributive property involves multiplication and addition. And you'll always see parentheses also with the distributive property. So 3 times 4 plus 3 times 7 is the same as 3 times 4 plus 7. That's what this says. Colton.
Right down there, you wrote it in word form, so you have to do that.
It might be helpful so that you know what the diagram is showing. 3 times 4 plus 7 is the same as 3 times 4 plus 3 times 7. Okay? David.
Will the answer be the same if we do 3 times 4, 3 times 7, and then add those two?
Yeah. So if we look at, let's find the answer to both sides. What's 4 plus 7? It's 11, right?
Yes.
What's 11 times 3?
33.
33. What if we did 3 times 4 first? What's 3 times 4? 12. What's 3 times 7? 21. 12 plus 21 is also 33. And that's what the distributive property tells us. Is that 33 is the same as 3 times 4 plus 7, or 3 times 4 plus 3 times 7. And it works. It's a math rule. Okay? Now, let's go to our assignment. Look at number 1. Page 27. Number 1 on top page 27. 36 times 4 is equal to 4 times 36. Which property says that that works? Darren? That's the commutative property of, and then what type of operation is that? Darren? Yeah, it's the commutative property of multiplication, number 1. So, in number 1, you would write commutative prop. Okay? And since property is already there, you just need commutative. Page 27. Number 1 at the top. Yes?
So wouldn't you have to write down multiplication too? Because it would be, or would you not have to do
It already says of multiplication.
that? But if it doesn't, would you have to write?
Right, yep. So it says name the property shown, number 2. Which property is that? What property says that you can do 14 plus 10, or you can do 10 plus 14. Adam?
Commutative property.
Good. The commutative. And I'm going to let you use the abbreviation for property. So you can use, you have to write commutative, because I want you to get used to that word. But all of them are properties, so I'm going to let you use PROP for prop of addition. Make sure you write addition.
I write
Because it's adding of addition. Any questions on what your what the requirements are? Yes.
Do we have to write of addition for this? To do that for number one?
No, because it already says that in number 1. That's just filling in the blank. Okay? But for the rest of them, it says name the property shown.
That's pretty easy.
And what you need to do is do 1 through 22 for tomorrow, okay? 1 through 22. Identifying the properties. You may go.